All right, so get ready. Because today we're going to be doing a deep dive into a world where music, fashion, and dolls, like, all come together.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you ready to talk about the Aaliyah Barbie?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's so much more than like just plastic and fabric.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So we've got some excerpts here from an article about this new doll, and honestly, it's got me thinking about Aaliyah's impact all over again.
Yeah.
I feel like for those who might not know, can you give us a little bit of background on why she's such a big deal?
Yeah, I think Aaliyah was really way more than just a talented singer. I mean, her music is incredible, don't get me wrong, but, she was a true trendsetter.
Yeah.
And I think if you think about it, back in the late 90s, you had a lot of female artists rocking the hyper-feminine looks.
Right.
But Aaliyah kind of came in with this like tomboyish swagger, and she was rocking like the baggy jeans and the crop tops, and it like totally flipped the script on what people were expecting.
Totally, totally. And she just owned that look, and it resonated with so many people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the article mentioned, too, the doll is styled after her look from the One in a Million music video.
Yeah.
The leather, the shades.
Yeah.
That, to me, was peak Aaliyah. What was it about that era that was so impactful?
I think that video, it was a game changer because it really perfectly captured her blend of like sensuality and strength.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the clothes, it was her attitude. It was just this like confidence she just exuded.
Right.
And visually, I think it really pushed the boundaries, It was like this futuristic, minimalist aesthetic. And it was such a huge departure from like typical R&B videos at the time.
Right. Yeah.
And it really influenced a whole wave of artists that came after her. And I think we're still seeing those echoes today.
For sure. For sure. And so knowing all of that, why create this doll now? What's the bigger picture here, do you think?
It's definitely interesting timing. I think Barbie as a brand, they've been really working hard to be more inclusive and be more representative.
Right.
They're creating dolls that represent a lot of diverse figures, challenging those traditional beauty standards.
Totally.
And so I think that honoring someone like Aaliyah who, broke barriers with her style and her music, it just feels like a natural progression of that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's not just about like putting Aaliyah in doll form.
Right.
It's really about what she represents. And this is making me think about, for someone who maybe wasn't around during her peak, like, how did her look actually challenge the norms back then?
Oh, yeah. It was really interesting because Aaliyah emerged, at a time when women in music and especially in R&B, they were often expected to fit a very specific mold, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like ultra glamorous and sometimes like, overly sexualized.
Okay.
And Aaliyah, with her androgynous style, really pushed back against those expectations and really proved you could be sexy, confident, and successful without conforming to like these narrow definitions of femininity. And I think that resonated with a whole generation of young women who were looking for a different kind of role model.
Oh, yeah, I bet. That makes this doll even more interesting, right?
Yeah.
This isn't just about a toy. It's about celebrating a woman who dared to be different and who, went against the grain. And I imagine for a lot of young people, seeing a doll like this could be really powerful. Did you have any toys growing up that made you feel seen or inspired?
I didn't.
Really?
I really didn't. And that's why I think this is such a big deal,
Yeah.
I mean, representation matters. And seeing yourself reflected in popular culture, even in something as like, simple as a doll,
Right.
can have such a huge impact on a young person's self-esteem and aspirations,
Oh, boy.
It tells them that their stories and their experiences are valid and worthy of celebration.
Yeah, beautifully put. So to wrap this all up, the Aaliyah Barbie, it's more than just a collectible. It's really a cultural moment that acknowledges her lasting influence. And it kind of speaks to Barbie's evolution, too.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that representation matters and that breaking barriers can really inspire generations to come.
Exactly. I think it leaves us with something to think about,
Oh, yeah.
This doll raises a really interesting question for me.
Okay.
Like, can we truly capture a legacy as complex as Aaliyah's in a single object? Or does it kind of spark this larger conversation about how we honor and remember those who have really paved the way for us? And that's something I'll be pondering,
For sure. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.